Hi, my name is Cindy Rang,
And I'm Eliza.
and today we're going to make a lined handled bag. My daughter and I have owned and operated a busy quilt shop in Washington State for over 20 years. We have a retreat center, an active YouTube channel, and a large pattern line featuring our creations. My two sons work on machines. One daughter-in-law is our videographer and the other is a long-arm quilter. We are a family that love each other, we laugh together, and every once in a while we get some work done. We have a crew that are saints for their efforts at keeping us on track. Thanks for joining us on our wild ride. All right, so this is our 6th class, and we're doing 8 in this series. So we've got the bag left, and then we've already sort of told them that our next 2 are going to be
Don't tell them.
Well, I already did. If they watched the Christmas special, they already know that we're doing pot holders and coasters next week. And then what was our last one? Is the stitchery, the hand stitching. But we've already decided. We've started sewing again, and we're going to resume our second series right after the new year. So
Happy New Year's, everybody.
that's right. And so today what we're going to do is we're going to do this cute little lined bag. So we're making a fairly small bag because the whole idea with this bag is that it is just a little activity bag. It could be a lunch bag. So it's not really a very large one, but we're going to go through the steps on how to make it. It's really just a couple of steps, and it's very, very easy to modify and turn into a bigger bag, whether you want a large shopping bag or something else. What's really nice in the 2 techniques that we're really going to, 3 techniques, I guess, that we're going to focus on is the boxed bottom, how to get that, the lining, how to do that, and how to do the handles. The rest of it after that, super simple to modify. We should also mention that as soon as we're done with this, we're doing the gift bag class. You probably don't know this yet. We're going to sew some gift bags. And so that video is going to post tomorrow, I think, and for reusable gift bags. So we're not worrying about all of the wrapping paper and the great big mess. When you throw away all of that stuff, we're just going to have reusable bags. Oh, it'll be a surprise. I'm going to show you how to make that after we're done with this. All right. So for this is super simple. All you need is you just need a half a yard of fabric. And this is what you picked out, of course. Purple, purple, purple. It's a theme. And then you'll need your pattern. And on the back of your pattern, there is a little template. And you'll want to cut out these little squares. And we strategically placed these so that when you do cut this out, it does not affect your directions on the front. And this is available as a download in the comments so that you can have this. And then the other thing you need is a little piece of batting. And we really like the fusible batting just because
it's so soft.
It is soft. It is soft. And one side of it is a little bit, I don't know, pokey. But that's the side that's fusible. But it's just so that you don't have to mess with it. That way you know that you don't have to worry about all of the pinning and everything. And it's not going to slip. So it's really nice. All right. So the other thing I wanted to mention is that this is the fabric that Eliza picked out. But there's lots of options. If you are doing a fun little gift bag and maybe you just have some, kitchen things, something different that you're putting into a little bag, you can choose a fabric that you know will work for a friend. The other thing is this is vinylized fabric. Have you ever felt that?
No.
It's the same idea. It's the same quality cotton fabric, and they dip it in this stuff. It's plastic.
What?
Well, they call it vinylized. But see, that's your regular fabric, and they put this coating on it. Totally washable, totally sewable, but it'll last for forever. Doesn't get wet, doesn't get icky.
That kind of feels like you're super heavy, thick coats.
Raincoats. Yeah. Yeah, that's the idea. So kind of fun. So that is a nice option for bags. The other thing is if you have a bunch of leftover strips or leftover pieces, you can create your fabric, sew some strips together, sew some blocks together, and then make a bag out of it. How fun would that be?
That'd be awesome.
Right? Okay. So we'll have to remember that's what we're going to do with those. Okay. In the meantime, we'll go back to doing this one. So you get one made and you know how to do it, and then we'll go on to other ones. Okay. Yes. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to cut off a 4-inch strip. And let's see, I'm going to cut this from this side. And you're going to cut, oh, maybe I should hold this up so they can see what we're doing. So here's our selvage edges and here's our fold, right? So here's our half yard cut. We've still got the fold on that. So for our width of fabric, I think that was a term that we used early on, I think in our first class, right?
Yeah.
The width of fabric is 42 inches from one end to the other. So what we're going to do is, assuming this is a nice straight edge, which it is, we're going to cut off a a 4-inch strip of fabric. Can you tell what this is going to be for?
The handles.
Yes, the handles.
Because you have to bend, because they're like 2 inches wide.
They are 2 inches wide. So why do you think we cut off a 4-inch strip?
So you can fold it in half.
She's so smart. You are a smart girl. You sew a lot.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. So you're going to take your 4-inch strip and you're going to first, what we'll do is we'll go to the ironing board and we're going to press a seam in it. And once you have that seam, it'll be a marker to press over this one and this one. So it'll look like that. And then we're going to be able to press it over one more time. So then you actually have a handle that is 1 inch and it's 4 layers thick, which is what you want.
Yeah.
So it's an easy way. So we're going to do that really fast and we'll be right back. Okay, so she did a great job. So she's pressed to this over, pressed to this over. And so here's our little 1-inch handle. We're going to take this to the sewing machine, but before we go there, let's go ahead and cut these pieces. So we'll go to the sewing machine all at once. So I'm going to set this to the side. And now it's time to cut. Out of this little piece that's left, we'll be able to have our lining and our outside.
What?
So yeah, and so it doesn't take very much fabric at all because we're making such a small bag.
Yeah.
So all you're needing these 2 pieces. So you can see that you don't need much. And this is the step 2 where if you decide that you want that piece to be bigger, this would be that opportunity to go ahead and change up this size piece, because it doesn't really matter what size these are. It's the bottom. So what we're going to do is we're going to first cut off our selvage edges because we don't want some weird white stripe. Oops, I don't have the good ruler here. In the middle of our bag. And then we're also going to cut off our fold, which is right here, and the reason we're just going to cut on the fold is because that is what will ensure that we have 2 pieces that are exactly the same size, because we're cutting these 2 pieces at exactly the same time. So now we have these 2 pieces, and what we're going to do is we're going to fold these together, and I would fold them right sides together. And on the pattern, it says short ends together. So that means that this is a short end and this is a long end. Short ends together. So it's going to look like that. And then this one, right sides together, short ends together. So it's going to look like this.
Right and short ends all together.
Right. Right sides together, short ends, short sides, right and short sides together. That's right. That's right. All right, so here's your little piece. And now this is where this little template comes in. So I did a template thinking that it would make it clear, so that it says right here that here's the fold and then here is your little box corners. So really what you can do is you can even trim this off even smaller, but I wouldn't do that. I mean, this is what I told you to do. So you have a little template. But the only thing for the template is just to remind you that you've got a fold right there and the corners out of it. Does that make sense? So what I'm going to do, let me show you what I mean. I should put my glasses on.
But you don't have them.
I think they're in here somewhere. I don't know why I take them off so much.
It's a mystery.
Well, you know why? It's because I can see really good far away, but I can't see close up. So I take them off when I look anywhere other than here. That's why. All right, so technically, what the pattern is going to tell you to do is that you would start with a piece that's roughly this big, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so you would cut that off, and then your bag would be this big. But I think we should live dangerously, and let's just make a little different size, because we already know what size this would make. Let's just look at what a different size it would make. Because really, this is how you would modify it, is just with whatever size, as long as you have two pieces that are the same size, and you folded them in half. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to do our box bottom. Our box bottom is basically exactly what it sounds like, and it's where you're just going to cut a box out of the bottom, the two bottom sides, and then when you sew it together, that's what gives you this nice little square bottom, so that your bag stands up really well. And
because everybody
you can put
wants
things
that.
in. Yeah, because this isn't going to tip over. You can put all of those things in there and that bag's not going to tip over. Whereas if you've got kind of a flat bag, it just is going to lay down and things are going to fall out.
Yeah.
Right.
You're going to just lose your crayons, your pencils.
You lose everything. I need to find a marking utensil. Okay, so we found our marking utensil. And again, we like to use the friction marker because the mark comes off with the iron. We have found a nice ruler and my glasses. And so what we're going to do is in the corner, we're going to do a box. And here's the deal with the box bottom that you want to know. What I measured for you guys was 1.5 inches. And if you do 1.5 inches, you're going to end up with twice that amount as a bottom. So for 1.5 inches, you're going to end up with what's 2 times 1.5? That's hard math. That's a fraction. You know what that is? It's 3. You'll end up with 3 inches. So if we did a 2-inch, what's 2 plus 2?
4.
Yes, that would be a 4-inch box bottom. If you did a 1-inch, what's 1 plus 1?
2.
Yeah, I know those are easy. I know, I'm sorry. But that's the math. So whatever your corner is, your bottom will be twice the amount. So when we do the Christmas bags and we're doing a 6-inch box bottom, we would start with a 3-inch, right? Because 3 is half of the 6. So that's the secret. That's the only thing you need to know about box bottoms is whatever square you cut out, your bottom is going to be twice that amount.
So if you did 50, it would be 100.
That's right. Oh, yikes. That's a humongous bag. That's right. All right. So for this one, because this one is a little long, do we want to stick with our 1.5 inches? Or do you want to make it bigger?
Bigger.
Okay, let's do 2 inches.
Yeah. The bigger the better.
The bigger the better. So we're going to do 2 inches, which is going to give us a 4-inch 4-inch bottom. So I have my 2 inches. And I'm going to mark it because we'll cut this with scissors. And we're marking it. Yes. And we're marking it over here. And then we're going to go over and sew before we cut this with scissors. So we're going to mark this one. And the lining we're constructing exactly the same. So we're going to mark these corners and then we're going to be at the sewing machine. Okay, there are 3 things that we're going to sew. The first thing is let's go ahead and sew our handle. So all we're going to do is using our 1/4-inch seam allowance, we're going to sew on one side and on the other side. So just come all the way down. When you get to the bottom, come all the way up. Okay. Okay, go ahead and cut your thread. Okay, so she's sewn her whole handle, and what can happen is, and we'll show you at the end when we go to construct it, but you can either do 2 pieces that are your 20-inch handles, or you can do one long one. So we're going to put these aside for a second, and now it's time to sew the lining. So in the lining, it shows you in the pattern, she's going to sew all the way down, and she's going to cut this part off anyway. You can sew off the edge if you want to, but really you only need to sew to about here. Over on this side though, you're going to sew, back stitch, leave about, I don't know, 3 to 4 inches open for turning, and then come over here wherever you want to start, back stitch, and then sew again kind of into that square. All right, so, and you can do either side that you're leaving open, it doesn't matter. It's just nice to start with it maybe, because that way then you don't forget. Okay, so she has the lining and the outside done, and now it's time to do these box bottoms. And so again, she picked a 2-inch. So we're just gonna cut these with scissors. Just gonna cut this square out. And that's why if she did sew off the edge, it wouldn't matter, because we're cutting that box out anyway. And then what happens is you have this corner. You're just going to bring this corner open like this. And that creates that little flat spot. And that's what she's going to sew. She's going to sew this closed. And we'll do that on all 4 of the corners. Okay, so she's got all of her box bottoms, so we're going to go back over to the cutting counter to put this bag together. Okay, so we've got the handle done and pressed, and then we've got the outside piece with its box bottom, and then we have the lining done with the box bottom. So what we're going to do is your handle, the truth is you can kind of do what you want to with your handle. You've got about 42 inches here. We're still going to go ahead and do 2, but if you ever wanted to make your handle bigger or really just do 1 full strap, you can do that. You can put your handle in differently so that you have just 1. But we're going to go ahead and stick with 2 because that's what we're telling you to do in the pattern. And that way we're going to show you what we said. So we're just going to fold this together. I think it's kind of critical that your handles be the same size. So I cut both of them at the same time, the same way that I cut the lining and the outside edge at the same time. We did mention one little tip in the pattern, which is that sometimes if you make your lining seam just a tiny bit bigger, a bigger seam, which will make the lining a little bit smaller, it'll fit inside your bag a little bit better. And if you're not sure what I mean, you'll see that the first time you do a homemade bag, if you notice that the inside just seems to be a little bit puckery. So all we're going to do is we're going to cut off our little salvages of the end of our handle. And then we're going to, you can cut with a rotary cutter or with scissors. We're going to cut this into 2 pieces. And then to position this, I had mentioned on the pattern that you want to count over 2 inches to put it down, 2 inches to put it down. But we decided to make our box bottom a little bit bigger. So for us, we're going to go ahead and measure over 3 inches. and put that down. So lining this up on top of the mat, we're able to see. So here we are. We are at 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to put him right there and pin him into place. And then making sure that my handle isn't twisted, I'm going to do the same thing over here. I'm going to count. Oh, did I do from the? I did from the edge. 1, 2, 3. And line that up and pin that one into place. And then I'm gonna flip it over and do the same thing with my other one. 1, 2, 3. See right where it goes. And again, making sure this isn't twisted. It's all nice and flat. One, two, three. Right on the edge. Okay, so once we've done that, what we're going to do is we're going to take these handles and tuck them inside the bag. So we've got the outside, the lining, right side in. And then you're going to take your lining, and your pattern says to turn it right side out. So it is right side out. And now we're going to tuck it in so that it fits inside. Okay. And so then now all I'm going to do is I'm going to line up this seam right here. Okay, and then we're going to go to the sewing machine and we're going to sew all the way around. You want to make sure that wherever you started that you stitched over it a couple times. The other thing is that where your handles are, we might go back and add just a couple extra little rows of stitching there just to make sure that those handles are going to stay in place. That's really necessary if you feel like you're going to overfill the bag. A bag that's this small, probably not going to get a lot in there that's going to make it super heavy. Once that's done, what we're going to do is turn this bag right side out through this hole. Okay, once you have turned this right side out, then what will happen is, whoopsie, something happened there, is your lining will tuck inside. And then what we're going to do is I'm going to go over to the iron and I'm just going to press the top over. And then we're going to come back and one more time, we're just going to go ahead and top stitch all the way around. The top stitch is really, I think, fairly necessary just to give it that nice finished look when you're done. Okay, so we've pressed it. So now, again, just to give it that nice finished look, Eliza is going to go all the way around very carefully and fairly slowly, and just so that 1/4 inch all the way across the top. And again, as she gets to the handles, you can kind of backstitch a little bit if you want to, just in case you're concerned about how much is going to go into the bag. Okay, so Eliza is done with her bag and it is adorable. And look at how much bigger it is. And so
it is way bigger.
It is way bigger. So it's funny that just that little bit made such a big difference. So again, this is the size with the template using, what was it, 8.5 by 11 on the fold and 1.5 inch box bottom like the pattern tells you. Your bag is going to end up this way. If you use every bit of fabric and you don't trim off that extra little, roughly 3 inches, you end up with this size bag. It's almost the same height, a little bit taller, but it's definitely wider. And then the other thing that we did just for fun because we wanted to, should we show them?
I want to.
You show them. We put on a pocket. So we should have done it before we did the bag, but we decided just for fun we were going to do that. So we just put a little pocket on the front. So if there is something you want to do, you can add that. So anyway, I think we're good. So we're all done. We're going to fill this bag and make a few more and have fun making your bags, and we'll see you next week. Thank you for watching our video. We invite you to leave a comment, hit the like button, or better yet, subscribe to our channel so you never miss an episode. You can also visit our Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, or Pinterest pages, or find all of those things and our online store at fabricpatch.net.